Welcome to another edition of Six Nations Rewind, a chance to amble through the rugby archive. And we have two matches for you in this edition. In a moment, it's England against Ireland in 1988 in an absolutely classic encounter. But before that, it's Italy's first ever match in the newly expanded Six Nations Championship. It took place in 2000 at the Stadio Flaminio in Rome against the previous year's Five Nations champion Scotland, who were determined not to leave the Eternal City empty-handed.
A moment of history awaits you. The start of the first ever Six Nations Rugby Championship. Here in Rome, it's Scotland to kick off against Italy. And immediately, the drive of Andrea Gritti inside the Italian 22, playing from right to left Italy. Clearance now, awkward ball, up comes Gordon Simpson on the 10-metre line. Scotland possession, Redpath to Townsend. Gary Owen, the opening tactic, Matt Peeney there, safely caught, and the mark given. Well, play, did he take it quickly? The referee says no. Interference by Scotland. Well, for the record, it's never been easy for Scotland in their previous full internationals against Italy. They've played each other 3 times in the late 90s. And Italy famously beating Scotland in '98 at Treviso. Most recently, though, Scotland winning 30 points to 12. Very difficult side to beat at home, as England and Ireland and even France will testify.
Just keep walking up the air, okay? Let him come down, let him come down.
2 men, Scott Murray, Stuart Grimes, and at the tail, the option being used there with Martin Leslie.
Lascia!
Redpath, Townsend, to McLaren. Jamie McLaren, held on the 22.
Ron, he was on his feet.
Well, Italy's scavenging for it. May have done enough. I believe so. No, it's Scotland's ball. Centre field then, it looks as though it could be a drop goal attempt. It would have been if it had been a good pass. He's recovered well, Townsend, but yes, it's over. Well, what a remarkable adjustment Townsend made, because it wasn't Redpath's best pass by any means. But he swung round, saw the target, and put it over for 3 points.
Well, this really is typical of Gregor Townsend, isn't it? And grabs the ball, and look at it. He followed through, kept his head down well, and it did just enough to scrape over, but really recovered extremely well.
An important score, yes. Sorry to interrupt you, Gavin. It's his 7th drop goal, and important because Scotland needed something, didn't they?
Yeah, very much so. I think they just need to regroup and just sort of settle down for the next 5 or 10 minutes, come to terms with this Italian presence, and then try and play their own game after that.
Another Italian player injured at the moment as well. This is good running. Kenny Logan weaving his path up towards the 22. Still Scotland possession. Now with Townsend back inside. Again, Budge Pountney burrowing deep. Townsend, McLaren, Metcalf couldn't pick it up on the half volley. Referee waits to see if there's advantage to Italy here, because it was knocked on. Tronco kicks deep. Oh, it's a perfect bounce for Bergamasco. And again, the referee is playing Italy advantage.
In a tackle.
And that's, I think, a tackle offence by Scotland, which has brought the penalty.
Till afterwards. Yep.
Well, that was a perfect bounce for Mauro Bergamasco. High hopes of this young flanker. He's only 20, winning his 4th cap today. Dominguez can level it. He's a player who's 3rd highest point scorer in world rugby, 758. Struck that perfectly. That's a magnificent kick. Never in doubt.
Just as soon as he hit that, he knew it was over, and once again, Italy really coming back into this game, and not certainly feared of taking on the Scots in any way, shape or form.
Well, the red, white and green tricolours are flying high Italy are level. This the day of history, the first match not only of the new millennium but of the new Six Nations Championship. Quick change back at number 8. Gordon Simpson returns bandaged up. Stuart Reid back to the replacements bench as Italy attack inside the 22. And again the switch move, they're trying that a lot. Dallan, that's the younger of the two brothers Dallan, one in the centre, but that was Dennis the winger. Penalty to Italy, hands in the deck, on the deck, in the ruck. Penalty well within range for Dominguez. The scores after half an hour, 3-all. So here's a chance for Italy to take the lead.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
This will get a roar if it goes over. He's kicked 165 penalty goals for Italy in his time of 57 internationals. He's kicked one today. 2 would give Italy a 6-3 lead. The cheers go up, so do the flags. Italy leads Scotland 6 points to 3 after 32 minutes. Simpson, Auckland-born, his 9th cap today. Redpath, Townsend, cleverly done. He's under a lot of pressure, but then there was a bit of a mix-up outside. Beautifully patted on by him, though. And here's Metcalfe. Metcalfe still. Troncon there to cover. Metcalfe tries to throw it in support. The follow-up is by Bullock. The referee has given the try. Well, I have the feeling that that pass, I don't know, first impression was that it was thrown forward by Metcalfe in the tackle, but maybe it was an Italian hand. The referee had no doubts about it, although the Italian players are protesting. Let's see here. It was that brilliant bit of sleight of hand by Gregor Townsend that set up the opportunity. Gavin.
Well, Metcalfe, for me, look at this step. He always comes off his left foot. He's just so sharp, and he steps inside. I think Pini at fullback. Troncon, the Italian captain, coming back and covering him. And just as we see now, I think it maybe came off his foot, actually.
In which case...
And he kicked it back.
In which case, no problem. And a run-in for Gordon Bullock for his second try that restored the lead to Scotland. So perhaps the luck has changed. There's Bullock with the try, the conversion over from Kenny Logan.
Well, Gregor Townsend here, really the instigator, but this is just class from Townsend, flicking it on to Glenn Metcalfe. And as we see from the reverse angle replay, he's coming off once again his left foot. And as Troncon, the Italian scrum half and defender, comes in and takes him, he's sliding back. And I think indeed it did come off his foot, and Gordon Bullock, like all good hookers before him, among them Sean Fitzpatrick, following through and scoring, and take great delight at regaining Scotland's lead.
Well, all credit to the referee, Jonathan Kaplan, no doubt about it. It worked as a wonderful kick ahead. You'll probably claim it was deliberate, but how well luck turned for Scotland. They now lead 10 points to 6, and they took advantage of that excellent work by Glenn Metcalfe in the build-up. So a great moment for the former captain of West of Scotland and Glasgow, Gordon Bullock, in his 20th international, and an important score. Perhaps that will settle Scotland now, with about 3 minutes of this first half to go, and there'll be some injury time. 10-6 Scotland lead here at the Stadio Flaminio in Rome. Dominguez back inside, lateral, not quite forward, I guess. Offside though.
On the side.
Coming in from the side, says referee Kaplan. And that may well be a sample of the new law in action, where the third man at the tackle has to join from behind his own player, the player nearest to his own goal line.
Put beyond that, yeah.
Yeah, here we go. We see another incident, and I think definitely came off Metcalfe's foot, that, and Gordon Bullock showing great awareness and anticipation for the referee, seeing the same as he did, following through and scoring under the post.
Here's Dominguez. Will it carry? It looks good. It's straight enough and over. He keeps them right in there. Just 1 point the deficit. Dominguez with a hat-trick of penalties, 3 out of 4, and Italy 1 point only behind.
Yeah, let's go, let's go.
So play continues, then the line out with Scott Murray restored. Still attention, I think it's Tom Smith. It is Tom Smith. He's got some bandaging on his head and he's jogging back to the action, so he's all right too. As Italy press inside the 22, however, Scotland come away with the ball. Now the possible counter-attack chance, 3 against 2. Metcalf up in the line, Longstaff out wide. Covers good though from Denis Delan. He's doing a lot of shrewd anticipation, Delan, with James McLaren. Still Scotland possession. To clear, Townsend does just that. Good work by Kekinato at the line out. Then Gritty in support as well. 2 biggest players.
Leave it, leave it, leave it.
Paoletti, the new cap for Italy, the prop, sets it up. Dominguez, well, that was expecting a bit much of Kekinato right at his feet. However, it's a penalty in front of the post as Scotland went over the top. Well, this produced the penalty, and this, of course, is an opportunity for Italy to retake the lead. Head on to the post, and this could make it 12-9 as we move into injury time. Leans back on it, and it's safely home for Italy. Diego Dominguez with his 4th successful penalty goal, which summons the half-time whistle from referee Jonathan Kaplan. Scotland trailing 12-10 against the home team Italy, their debut in this Northern European Championship. And Scotland have got to settle, Gavin.
Yes, indeed, and this isn't the way to do that. Kicks have to find their touch. Get back to the basics.
So can Brian Redpath, who's taken over the captaincy role from John Leslie, who went off so early, sadly. He has a lot on his plate. He feeds now, and the ball sliced off the boot of Gordon Bullock, the try scorer, into touch. And that's the kind of early pressure Scotland have got to avoid. Huge crowd here, sunlit, perfect day in this wonderful city. And a marvellous revamped Stadio Flaminio, close to the Villa Borghese Park. Built originally for the World Equestrian Games and renovated to hold just over 24,000, and we've got just about that here. And half of them at least are pretty excited about the state of play. 12-10 to Italy. And the many thousands of Scots in kilts a little subdued. It's been disappointing so far, and Italy pressing again inside Scotland's 22.
Roll away, hold.
2 scrum halves now as captain. Dominguez attempts a drop goal. He's on song again. Diego Dominguez, his 10th international drop goal. So often the thorn in the side of international teams, unsuspecting they may be. But here is a man who rises to the big occasion and has now increased Italy's lead to 5 clear points.
Yeah, well, really, he's been very, very influential with Italy for a good number of years, and the classic drop goal, ball going over end, and tremendous start to the second half from Italy, really continuing from where they left off at the end of the first half.
Oh, what a talent. We've seen it, of course, in the Heineken European Cup this season, in the colours of Stade Francais, for whom he plays his club rugby now. Dominguez tries the drop goal again. I don't believe it.
Well, he does.
And the crowd are on their feet. Well, he was always going to be the greatest threat. And my word, he's proving it to be exactly that. 18 points to 10. Just watch this again.
Well, he's fully, what, 47 metres out there, 48 metres. He just stuck that absolutely superbly and straight over the middle of the bar.
6 minutes into this second half, and a second half that's seen 2 snap-drop goals by Chico Dominguez.
Run away!
That's Giovanelli, former captain of Italy, and captained them throughout the World Cup this last time round. 34 times captain in all. He's back of the lineup
You're
now,
okay. Okay.
helping Italy drive upfield with Moscardi. Chonkon pops it up to Kotita.
Hold there, hold.
And again, at close quarters, Scotland reeling. And Italy driving forward. There's the contrast in a nutshell.
Yeah, you're okay.
Again to the pack. Italy quite happy to take on the experience of top-flight internationals in that department. But there's a hand by Scotland.
In the tackle.
It might have been Martin Leslie there. Dominguez, 4 penalties, 2 drop goals. Perfectly struck. The crowd rise. The flags go high once again. An immaculate performance with the boot from Diego Dominguez sees Italy an 11-point lead. 11 minutes played of this second half. Sense there's been a bit of a patronising attitude about this Italian team in the wake of the World Cup. Meanwhile, Simpson inside, James McLaren downed.
No, hold!
Brian Redpath, Townsend. Good work by Leslie in support, now with Tom Smith, heading towards the 22. But that's open play, and Redpath under intense pressure again.
Hold there!
Standing off is Tino Parletti. And even Matty Stewart was sent backwards then. Now Townsend, pressure on Jamie Mayer. It's offside though. Sense that might have come. But there was always a danger, I think, of reading perhaps too much into a very lacklustre performance by Italy in the World Cup when they were soundly beaten by England and thrashed by New Zealand. But a lot of changes in personnel and of course in coaching since then. And here we've got a change of goal kicker. Gregor Townsend comes up. Well, he's not kicked a penalty goal before for Scotland. 11 tries, 6 drop goals. He needs to now. Yes, he's got it. Change of kicker, change of luck. And Townsend keeps Scotland in the hunt at 21-13, 17 minutes into the second half.
Well, quite honestly, it didn't matter how that ball went between the uprights as long as it did, and Gregor did enough to get it through there and to get the touch judges to raise their flags. 21-13 now, and Scotland undoubtedly with a game in their hands.
The last quarter to be played out on this historic occasion in this most historic of cities. Over the halfway, Italy.
Leave it.
Alessandro Chonkon. What a celebration for the new captain. I say new, he's captained Italy before now. The midfield closed down this time by Scotland.
Leave it.
Chonkon again though. Giovanelli, all long hair and aggression. Chonkon once more. Dominguez. Pini up in support, but enveloped by the dark blue of Scotland. Chonkon, swift feed, Stoica, powerful Romanian-born winger. Good support coming from Martin Dalan. Now Chonkon, this is good play. Parletti, and Scotland forced back into their 22. Dominguez, dummies, goes for the break. Doesn't make it, but possession retained. Certainly no confidence ebbing here. Massimo Kotita, the veteran of the piece. Italia is the chant round the ground. Tremendous enthusiasm. This would be such a signal light in the history of Italian rugby. It would do so much for the game here were they to retain this lead, and they've got a penalty to help their cause.
I'm talking, listen.
Well, that really got the Italian crowd behind them. Tremendous play there from all the Italy forwards and backs working in unison. And Chonkon, for me, very similar in a player just controlling everyone around him, speaking to his players all the time, and short passes, long passes, and very much instrumental in the way of Italy taking the game there in that passage of play to the Scots.
It's so close. Oh, that's magnificent. Absolutely sensational performance by Dominguez. 24 points to 13. Gianpiero De Carli comes on for Tino Paoletti, the new cap.
Hold there.
Well, if Brad Johnson's trade's anything to go by, he'll have powerful, direct, strong prop forwards. Brad Johnson's hallmark, of course, 13 times capped for New Zealand, and now Italy's new coach, having taken over from his role with Fiji. Here is Christian Stoica, normally a centre, but playing effectively on the wing here. Kekinato. Well, no greater spur to the underdogs than seeing victory in sight, but they've still got 14 minutes to play out. Nothing secure yet. Luca Martin sets it up. Scotland regroup, concede the put into the scrum. Italy doing so well up front, and I guess that has probably been, Gavin, the biggest surprise, if we're to call it that.
Yeah, I mean, we knew they were more than capable of it, but the one thing that's impressed me is their teamwork, their togetherness, and I think that Brad Johnson has done a fantastic job in just the short time that he has been in charge of this Italian team, and he's obviously not had the biggest game plan, the most varied game plan in the world, but boy, you can't say it's not been working for Italy.
Well, he could be challenging for Mayor of Rome. This is full international debut. Dominguez! Words defy. A hat-trick of drop goals, and Diego Dominguez, the perfect day for him and for Italy. 27 points to 13 is the lead. It's Italy then,
Let him come down, no sweeping.
as they would say, and as I guess on the reflection on today's game, where they rightly deserve to be close to that Scotland line. The try would cap it all, of course. Kekinato and Gritti have done so well in the second row. Possession for Troncon. Dominguez, can he round it off here? 1, 2, 3, driving to the line. Has he made it? Referee Kaplan looks, just held up. It was nearly the fairy tale finish for the inspirational Diego Dominguez.
Cut inside.
Take a step back.
It was just quite remarkable, his change of direction here, and he wasn't afraid to go straight through the whole of the Scottish pack, and Martin Leslie there with a despairing dive, Bunch Poundley coming in to lend his hands, and I think Dominguez, just when he was going towards the line, was on his back and able to get the ball over the line.
An uncomfortable afternoon in so many aspects for Scotland here, with just, 3 minutes to go. Italy pressing again, this time Troncon tries. The captain, what a role he's had. Still they drive, this time close to the line with the pack. Set back, Troncon.
Yep, your call.
Straight up the middle, Kekinato. Has he the weight? 17 stone 5. Held up short.
Leave it, Jen, leave it.
Pounding the Scotland line
Leave it there.
in these dying minutes. Troncon, did it go forward? Clearly not. No indication from the referee.
Hold there.
They still have it. Now the drive to the line must succeed. It has indeed for Gianpiero De Carli. And now the celebrations can begin. And the crowd rise to a man. Those supporting Italy to laud and praise this remarkable performance that has indeed now included their first ever try in the Six Nations Championship. Sheer persistence in the end, the power and directness of their play has stunned Scotland and will certainly have shaken all those who might have thought it was going to be a false challenge. Need I say anything? Diego Dominguez, 34 points to 13 to Italy. The greatest day, undoubtedly, for Italy in their rugby history. They've come to the party and they have taken it by storm. Well, a final flurry and perhaps a consolation score is all that Scotland can hope for now. Driving on is Gordon Simpson, one of the 5 kilted Kiwis. Here's Redpath having a dabble. He's held.
Get leave it to your home, not stop.
Still Scotland giving everything now.
That's okay.
Too late to win, of course, but pride at stake.
Lasher.
2 against 4, up the middle. Martin Leslie, there's the consolation score. It will only be that,
Well done, guys.
as their most ardent supporters acknowledge. 34-18, and Martin Leslie, with his 7th try in Scotland's colours, has at least crossed Italy's line for the Scots. The conversion went over from Townsend. 34 points to 20. Too late. We're in injury time.
Okay.
Final check of the timing between touch judge and well, here's a chance for Italy with a bit of ambition. Scotland are just dead on their feet here.
Lasher!
Well, I don't know if that was ambition or foolhardiness, Nigel, but to this stage, you know, there's enough embarrassment for them to suffer anymore. Probably taking things a wee bit too far, but they were doing their best to suffer more embarrassment there with that quick
This
throw.
ambition was a bit of a euphemism. Here Scotland then in desperate straits. Townsend kicks deep. Matt Peeney has done all he's needed to do. Former Australian, now well-established Italian international. Out on the full from him, and there, let the celebrations begin. Alessandro Troncon goes charging onto the field as Italy announce their arrival in the Six Nations Championship. This has been a majestic performance by Italy. They've marked their arrival in the best possible way with a convincing display. Scotland, tails between their legs, will leave this magnificent city with bitter disappointment, but knowing that on the day, there is no doubt Italy deserved every point of this victory. Stunning, extraordinary, but a marvellous initiation in so many ways to the new Six Nations Championship. Italy have arrived and are here as of right.
Well, Italy's joy in that championship was short-lived. That was their solitary triumph in that opening season. And things didn't go much better for Scotland either. They only had 1 victory that campaign. Well, from there, let's go back to 1988 and the final weekend of the then 5 Nations Championship with England playing Ireland. Up until that point, England hadn't scored a single try. The Twickenham crowd were praying, baying for a new hero. And they got one.
Jonathan Webb prepares to start for England. England basically with this awkward wind behind them in this first half. That will be significant. John Orr went first through. Out on the full though. Jonathan Webb, the 24-year-old. So Ireland will get the first put in. And a vital first scrum.
Yes, I think this is where England will be hoping that they will be able to get the advantage over a pretty inexperienced Irish front row. So it'll be a fair old test for Ireland, these early scrums.
Michael Bradley, you saw the fervour with which the 2 packs set down into the scrum. Bradley waits, Melville poised to spoil and does. Recent support. Orwin trying to dig it out, but it's Bradley. And perhaps a touch surprising because he was kicking into the wind. Nervous opening moments, Tony Ward.
Yes, I think so. Michael should really have kept that ball in play, although it's obviously Ireland would be delighted that they actually had the first put in there, because there's no doubt they are going to be under pressure on the scrum. Out on the full, line out to England.
Halfway line. Dooley wearing 5 as he goes up, you'll see. Came to Dean Richards, but it seemed to go forward from him. Dean to Kiernan. And that was unlucky. The players again having to adjust to this difficult wind to gauge. In fact, looking at the touch judge on this near side, the flag is actually blowing two ways simultaneously, it would seem. First one way, then the other, which gives you an indication of this ever difficult Twickenham swirl. England's throw through Brian Moore. Over the head of Dooley to Richards, back to Dooley. Held by Moylan, the new cap. Melville inside to Rees. Melville to Andrew. Mismove in the centre, straight through to Carling. Webb in the line. Oti outside. Oti against Ringland. Oti manages to keep it in play. Touch finally. And it's a long time since England started the game like that. So already a moment to savour with England on the attack. And the mismove in the centre, straight through to Will Carling. Webb up in the line. And a run for Chris Oti. Ringland shadowing him, but could be a rare battle on here between these two if they are in plenty of possession. Probyn smuggles it away. Skinner standing off from Melville's pass, shoots it down too hard, misdirected. And that's the sort of thing Ireland love. Bradley hammers it through as Halliday covers back. Kicks on the turn but doesn't find touch. McNeil must have thought about the drop goal attempt. Puts the Garrio in. Was he impeded by Halliday? Under the post is Webb. Pile up. Waiting for the front rows to get down. A minute of first half to go, plus a little injury time. Bradley onside. Ireland possession in front of England's posts. Lenihan in to set it up. Bradley, Kiernan, drop goal. Has to be. Drop goal number 6 for Michael Kiernan, breaks the deadlock. And he can thank his pack's effort.
Yes, it's the scrummage ball at Michael Bradley. You can see that he was quite right, the ball was out, and once he'd pinched that off Nigel Melville, then England were always in trouble. And it's good work here by the Irish front five to win this ball, and when it comes back, that Kiernan's got all the time in the world to slot this one, and it's very important indeed for Ireland to have got some points on the board. They've had a lot of pressure.
Moore, Melville, Andrew, Halliday. This time the scissors with Carling. Yes, chance here. Carling to Melville. Brilliant little inside flick to Melville to keep it alive, which was not eventually rewarded. But there's a worrying sight down below as Melville may have collided with the boundary wards and requires attention. This is a worrying moment. Melville putting in that brilliant inside flick, but has clearly badly hurt his leg.
Yet it looks as though it's his ankle there.
He's had every injury worry in the book, and having mounted such a brave comeback when it seemed his career was over on several occasions, this is his reward, and that will sadden, I'm sure, everyone here of whatever persuasion. And in fact, referee Norling quite sensibly blows for the half-time. Well, everyone's sympathy to England's captain, Nigel Melville. So the 25-year-old, for that's all he is, first captain 84. Well, we wish him well and trust that once again he can come back from such a cruel blow as this. And the appreciation of the whole crowd in sympathy, which means England have to gird their loins and start again with the second half. They trail by a penalty goal to 0 at the interval, and to replace Nigel Melville, at least the consolation of an experienced man in Richard Harding. So Corky Harding wins his 8th cap, and looking round, it appears that there's further treatment required also for Hugo McNeill, and I think that may be why Donald Lenihan is having words with Clive Norling. Hugo McNeill, Ireland's fullback, is receiving further attention off the field, and Ireland restart. So Ireland with a 7-man scrummage, McBride dropping out to cover the left wing. England understandably attacking that way now. Webb to Underwood. Underwood stays on his feet. Deep into the Irish 22, eludes the tackle. Can he make it to the line? Referee Norling has given the try, and Underwood scores a try for England. The long-awaited moment, and a real solo effort it proved to be. His 5th in the England jersey. It looked to have gone, but he broke the tackles, kept his momentum going, and took full advantage of Ireland minus their fullback. Still driving, Crossan can't hold him, the ball seems to go loose, and I think we'll claim Rees as the try scorer. England holding still, and again taking advantage of Ireland 1 man short up front to further impose themselves. As Ireland collapse it, England get the penalty.
Yes, this English pack now is really starting to dominate. They've stepped it up a gear since half-time. They've had the motivation of seeing their inspirational captain go off the field, and I think this has really lifted them up now.
Well, Jonathan Webb will be keen to put this over, having scored in each of his internationals thus far. This his 8th appearance. 58 points for England in that time. Good kick. So England within a metre or so of Ireland's line, leading 7 points to 3. Dooley down, Skinner. England form the wedge to drive. Cries of heave rebound around the stadium. On goes Rendell with Richards. Harding, Dooley standing off for the charge. Harding again, Carling. Still held up, on drive Skinner. Still within striking distance, Harding. Halliday, OT, yes! Chris Oatey celebrates his first Twickenham international with England's 2nd try of the game. The 22-year-old has fulfilled his promise.
Well, that try by Chris Oatey has really put England out of sight now, and it was the tremendous work by the forwards that gave him that opportunity, and a chance now for Jonathan Webb to stretch England's lead with this conversion.
On target.
Oatey did tremendously well to get outside of England. Ring will be a little disappointed that he didn't actually manage to get him, but I don't think we could have a more popular try scorer here today at Twickenham.
Harding. Another task for England as Oatey bears down on him. Harding, superb kick. McNeill supporting. But again, brilliantly placed on the narrow side by Harding into the last quarter of the match. Dooley. England getting more authoritative up front by the minute. On the switch is Halliday from Andrew. Bursts the first tackle and the second. Finally by Ringland. OT goes for the double and gets it. Back at Twickenham, and he gets a brace of tries again. And England's third of the day that surely puts them clear and home.
It's Simon Halliday that makes this one, but there must be question marks about the Irish forwards tackling here. He beats Kingston, he goes past Moylett there, and beats another cover. But look here how Oti takes this one extremely well, and he's got a lot to do there, but he dives in, and to the availing tackle by McNeil, good play, but really made by Halliday, and question marks about the Irish tackling there.
Yes, that's right, Bill. It's certainly Odi's day here today, but there's no doubt Ireland are going to be bitterly disappointed with their defensive work numerous occasions this second half.
England again, Richards, Harding, Underwood this time, tremendous acceleration, this time the tackling firm by Paul Dean, the important one, but on goes Jeff Probyn up to Ireland's 22. Harding, Andrew, England come again, Carling, Webb, Oti, bidding for the hat-trick. Ringland shadows him all the way, but doesn't tackle, and Oti's in. Oti's there for the hat-trick. To match the triumph of John Carlton in England's Grand Slam year of 1980. The hero of the hour is the 22-year-old Cambridge University student, Chris Oti.
Well, this certainly could be the try of the season, the pressure that England have put up. But Oti there, it looks as though Ringland's going to close him down on the outside. He switches back inside, and it shows how strong he is there. He gets outside Kiernan and leaves McNeil for dead there. Great try by Oti for his hat-trick on his first appearance at Twickenham, and he really has lifted up this 65,000 crowd.
Did you ever hear such England roars and cheers? Now Rob Andrew takes over the kicking duties and promptly plants it in the middle of the post. Well, there's the hero of the hour, Chris Oti. And I suppose one has to say something in sympathy for Rory Underwood. Switched across to the right wing to see the man who's taken over on the left score a hat-trick like this, Tony Ward.
But hasn't he taken every opportunity? This is a wonderful try. Again, one must question the Irish defensive work, but terrific opportunism by Chris Oti. Steps inside three would-be tacklers, spots that line, and there's no stopping him. A great day for Chris Oti, and indeed for England.
Harding to Andrew. Carling dummies to Halliday, and it's Webb taking it well into the line, and Underwood took that brilliantly, cuts back inside. Underwood still, has he the acceleration? Lovely dummy, under the post, he deserves it. Rory Underwood's fifth try, and his fifth of the match for England. So, a celebration and a classic again of individual brilliance too, and great work in the backs.
Yes, it's a pass by Will Carling. Look at the position that Webb takes up. He times his run to perfection. Underwood takes that extremely well behind him. Once he cuts inside, it looks as though that he's going to give the pass to Webb. He dummies there to Trevor Ringland, and under the post as Rob Andrew takes the conversion to extend England's lead to 33 points to 3.
And with the conversion over by Andrew, it's 29 points to 3, and that, if it stands, will be a record victory for England. Knock on by Orwin, Richards offside. Ireland obviously needing to get points. The Gary Owen, traditional part of Ireland's armoury, but it's drifted a bit astray. Underwood takes, Skinner, Richards, Carling, and a great future for another 22-year-old in the back division. England come again. Webb inside Rob Andrew. Harding. Skinner. Lenihan, good work. Dean, nice little shimmy and break. But the pack a few metres off, and that's a sign of a wilting team. Underwood again, strong. Webb thinks about going, finds Harding in support, hurls it inside, hoping to find more, but Ireland escaped that time just.
And again we see that the English pack are winning the ball at random now and giving their backs so much time now. And look how Underwood steps out of a couple of tackles there, gives it to Webb, and he's got support, he's got 2 or 3 men on his inside. But full marks here to Phil Matthews, who pulls off a try-saving tackle there, and also Dennis McBride, who has a good wing forward, is still covering across there.
Rory Underwood, and a roar from the crowd as they wait. A little bit of attention still for Hugo McNeill, once more Ireland's fullback. And I hope that that advice is followed about not invading the pitch, because it has been a worry to the Rugby Football Union. And a word of sympathy too for the President John Burgess, who's unable to attend today, and is send our best wishes as he recovers. Ireland bravely out of defence. Harding, Underwood, Skinner drives on, still deep inside that 22, and it's Harding, Richards, Carling still. England game to run everything, and now the individual skills coming to the fore that I sense at times England's backs have been reluctant to show, just lacking that edge of confidence, the thing that Roger Utley talked about right at the start of the season when he took over as England coach. If he could only instill that confidence, he knew there was a lot of talent latent and unfulfilled. Webb, Richards, Harding, Carling, Halliday, trying to make the opening for Underwood, but inside, beautiful pick-up, Rob Andrew. Brian Moore, Rees, Underwood, Underwood's in. Try number 6, and the winger has done it again. Well, if he's credited with the first, it's a hat-trick for either winger. But we have to add that note of caution, because it could be that Rees will be credited with the first. No mistaking, though, that this was another winger. And it was Underwood on the right this time.
Yes, and it's made here by the lovely pick-up by Rob Andrew. And just look at the support yet again. There's Brian Moore, Gary Rees, his Nottingham club mate, and a super pass there. And Underwood is strong, steps inside the cover, over for another great try by England.
And more tries in a game than in the last 4 seasons by England, to take them into uncharted territory in recent times. $33 points to 3, and a conversion still to come. Rob Andrew, who made that score with that brilliant pickup. Over again, with a couple of minutes of injury time gone at the end of the match. What celebrations in store. The final whistle goes. England win by a record margin, and this was the final play. Andrew, magnificent, and a good bit of mobility there from Brian Moore and Gary Rees to round it off with Underwood's triumph as England celebrate, at long last, a triumph in style. 35 points to 3, 6 tries, and a day for England to savour.
Plenty for England fans to celebrate on that day, which they did by singing Swing Low Sweet Chariot for the first time. And since then, obviously, it's become a staple of England supporters around the world. Well, from there, let's move on 3 years to 1991 and hear from an England goal-kicking hero against Wales, who slotted 7 penalties, at the time a world record. His name was Simon Hodgkinson.
Now, if he slots this one, in a way, it'll be a world record. I have a feeling that Hugo Porta once kicked 7 goals, but in a CAP international, this would be a world record with 7 penalty goals. Oh, he seems to have pulled it in once more. Magical goal kicking.
Simon Hodgkinson, whose 21 points against Wales and Cardiff was followed by 17 points in last week's Calcutta Cup match at Twickenham. Hodgkinson's mentor at the Nottingham club for the past 10 years has been one of the country's outstanding coaches, Alan Davis.
What about the goal-kicking road? How have you been able to help him in that?
Well, what we've done is looked at it technically and tried to, because basically he's a very good footballer. He can kick a ball, and that's the first essential. So all I've done is helped him to polish his technique and given him sort of total faith in what he's doing. Okay, now just forget about that now.
I think when I first started kicking seriously, when I first joined Nottingham, I was really concentrating on the run-up, but when I actually struck the ball, there were 2 or 3 different techniques that I used, and, leaning back on it, coming off it and trying to hit it into the wind. But now I just try and play with the ball in the same kind of run-up and strike that I always use.
Now, I always feel perhaps about goal kickers that they have a certain routine and preparation, and that they go through all that both on and off the field. Is that true of you?
Yeah, very much so. I get very nervous before big games, and I try and shut myself away from most of the other players on the morning of the game. I like to be fairly individual in my approach. In the changing room beforehand, I'll take a corner seat and just sit down and just go over the kicking, watching a few balls go over, hopefully putting all the ones out of my mind that I'm going to miss, and really just getting, again, that flow coming into it. Well, basically, as soon as the penalty's awarded, I take 5 or 10 seconds really just to walk up to the position, and in that space of time try and calm myself down. The placement of the ball, I always line the seam up with where I'm actually aiming the ball, with the adapter hole facing that way as well, just really to cut out any bad contact that I could actually get on the ball. Once that's taken place, I then take 4 steps back and 2 to the left on a diagonal. And then really, again, just wait 10 or 15 seconds, calm myself down, and really think of the things that I should be doing in my run-up and the strike of the balls. Things such as keeping calm on the run-up, keeping my head down on the strike, and making sure my left foot's in the right place.
As a match winner, Hodgkinson is following fast in the distinguished footprints of the Leicester fullback Dusty Hare, England's leading point scorer, whose record Hodgkinson is chasing.
This kick could decide the match. Looks good. It's over.
The next Hare, 2-year-old Joe, is already in training, but in the meantime, Hare Senior can only sit back and admire the skills of the heir apparent.
I mean, everybody's different, and I read an article about Simon that he absolutely dreaded the Saturday mornings, and I was very much the same. I mean, I enjoyed it, getting onto the field and getting involved in the game. And I think when you're a goal kicker, you do fear that you're going to have those days when you're going to miss, and you're building it up, and you just hope you got it right when you start on the afternoon.
What do you think his knack is? What's the secret?
Plenty of practice, concentration, and getting the rhythm right. And as we've seen, he's got his rhythm right. I mean, he's looking very effortless, and the ball's going a long way. So certain critics have said that he couldn't kick in the wind, and I think he's proved in Paris that they can go over even when conditions are bad.
I wonder, what do you think has been the most important kick that you've taken so far?
Probably the one I missed against Argentina, but of the ones that have actually set the team on the way, I think the first one, maybe two, at the Parc des Princes last year against France. It was a strange condition, really, simply because we went to the Parc des Princes the day before, and although it was very windy inside the stadium, it was totally secluded. So I thought they were going to be the same conditions when we turned up on the Saturday, but unfortunately it was howling.
I suppose inevitably now there's going to be a tremendous backlash in a way to Simon's success, and we've already been reading during the week about how the penalty is given far too much importance in the game. Would you subscribe to that?
Well, I'd like to see it reduced to 1 point at the moment, because I've got £100 on for Simon to score 40 to 50 points in the Five Nations. So I'd like to see it reduced very quickly. But no, I'm a big believer that I think it's right. I think 3 points for a penalty is the right amount. If we started reducing it, opposition would infringe on the laws far more. And I mean, what sort of a game of rugby would we get then?
I feel generally, and it's something that Simon and I always joke about, we always strive in this country, in our rugby, to hit the heights of mediocrity. Now we're actually moving in his department, into excellence. I see no reason why we shouldn't applaud it. Clearly, there are problems with the laws, and they're broken regularly. And if they're broken 40 metres from the opposition goal line, Simon's going to punish it.
I believe, Alan, he can never quite escape your clutches, even on the international field.
Well, I started sending the players telegrams, and I've always done that. But in fact, Simon demands that I be a little bit more technical when I send telegrams to him, and he says it gives him something else to think about and concentrate on.
So what you give in that telegram a little piece of a different advice each day, do you?
Yes, and it gets harder, of course, the more successful he is.
Well, look, I want to know, and so does Scotland wants to know, what was your advice before the Calcutta Cup?
Well, actually, I thought his feet might be cold, and I wasn't sure what the weather would be like. In fact, it was a lovely sunny day, so basically I told him to make sure he kept his feet warm so he could feel the ball, and he certainly felt it, didn't he?
Records there to be broken, and you know, he's kicked nearly every kick so far, you know, and I mean, he's got 2 more matches to go. I mean, he can put it to 60 points the way he's going.
That's another masterly kick. 4 out of 5 for Hodgkinson. What an artist.
And that's all we've got time for this time around. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Oti, yes! I don't believe it.
Well, he does.
Oti goes for the double and gets it. Dominguez. Words defy.
At long last, a triumph in style.